Okay. Good evening, everybody. Today is May 26, 2020, and this is the Board of Selectmen's meeting, and I would like to call the meeting to order and have an acceptance of the agenda.
So moved.
Second by, you can just raise your, second by Mr. Harris, and we'll have to do roll call votes for everything, as we've done for the last couple months.
All participants are unmuted.
Yes?
What?
Mr. Vignani?
Yes?
All participants are muted.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Ms. Canfield?
Yes.
I'm logged in.
Ms. Conley?
I'm here, I'm not gonna bother.
Yes.
Being at the same
And
time.
Ms. Carr.
Yes.
You should be able to hear me anyways.
Great. Okay, so just quickly, I'll go over the rules and the way that you can participate this evening. Again, we're trying to just do critical business during our last couple of meetings and not really ones that need, not that needs the right word, but that we think would have a lot of participation necessary. Those, if we do have to discuss them, we're not voting on them, and we're going to have meetings in the future about that so that the public can participate. If you do want to participate, I'm going to read off 3 phone numbers to you and a code, and you'll go into a queue, and Michelle Segazy is here monitoring that, and we'll open it up to questions and answers, and you'll be able to participate at that point. So the phone numbers that you may call in, and my glasses fog up, so I need to occasionally pull this down a little. 425 436 6308, 6338, and 6300. Again, that's area code 425 436 6308, 6338, 6300. Once you dial that, you'll have to put in an access code, and that is 817-651 #. One more time on that, 817-651 #. Great. That being said, call up, you'll go in the queue, and Michelle will manage the call flow. The first topic for discussion is the report from the town administrator. Jim?
Sure. We'll start off with the most recent news. Excellent job done just now by the Situate Fire Department. Situate Police Department, with assistance from the Norwell Fire Department, we had a resident of Situate with a emergency medical need, and they were able to get her, stabilize her, and get her on a med flight to Boston in very short order. So an excellent job done by all to coordinate that and get that taken care of. Obviously, our thoughts and prayers are with her and her family, but all signs were that they got her on the med flight, got her going to Boston, and things were looking good. So, just an update from this morning. From last week to this week, we had 12 additional antibody cases. That brings us to our count by 112. We had another antibody case today. 12 additional cases, plus another antibody today. Of those over the weekend, 3 were antibodies and 3 were at the Life Care Center, so that left 6 Situate cases. 3 of those were brand-new cases at new addresses. So that's something new. People have been asked why the town's numbers are different than the numbers that the state has. We are tracking just the Situate cases, the Situate addresses that we have. The state is now starting to apportion back some of those nursing home cases to us. So we actually have 3 cases, 3 numbers, the Situate number plus the nursing home, then the total number, which is all the Situate cases and all the nursing homes. When we track our cases and the nursing home cases, we are consistent with that total number that the state is tracking. It's always going to be off a couple depending on reporting, but we are consistent with the total number that the state has. As we've talked about, yesterday was the first phase of reopening the economy. Barbershops were open, thank God. Retail shops are open for pickup and online. You cannot go in the stores yet. Pet grooming, hair salons, barbershops, and the library will start making curbside pickup. We're hoping next week. They're working on that right now. The dog park is open. We posted the signs today, so the dog park is open. Social distancing is required. Masks are required. We will monitor the dog park. If we think it's getting too crowded, we will close some of the parking. If it's still getting too crowded, we'll just end up closing the dog park again. So dog owners are going to have to be on their best behavior. The beaches are open. We never closed our beaches. Friday was a busy day at the beaches. I think people were doing their best to try to social distance. We are still having problems with some of the young adults and the teens, but they seem to be congregating together. But I think people were trying to do their best to maintain distancing at the beach. No organized games are allowed, no football, no cam jam, no volleyball, nothing like that. If you can't maintain your 6 feet, you are supposed to wear a mask. I didn't see any masks at the beach, but again, I think people are trying, they're getting out. It's been a long couple of months, so I think people are really trying to get out. As I said, the athletic fields are open. That does not apply to the high school fields. I have to reiterate that again and again and again. The police were called this weekend. A group of youths got on the field and started one of the field grooming machines or running it on the baseball field. On Monday, there was another call for a group of young adults that were out there practicing. We don't know if they were Situate or not, but another group of young adults out there practicing. Then today, they got a call again. 4 youths walked right by the contractor at the gate. He said the fields are closed, and they said the governor said the fields are open, and they walked right out and started practicing soccer, and we got to call the police again to have them removed from the fields. The high school fields are closed. Nothing to do with COVID-19, nothing to do with the pandemic. They are a construction site. They are closed. You must stay off them. Given the recent situations that we've been having, the police will now start doing enforcement. The contractor is going to put up additional no trespassing signs. If people keep going out there and using it, then we're going to have to start doing enforcement because people keep violating it, going over the fence, going around the fence. It's an active construction site. You're not supposed to be on there. So that is closed. Please stay off.
Jim, can the schools send something out to their distribution list?
We can ask them to do it again. I know they've done it several times.
Because that's, people I think are just, like you said, misconstruing why they're closed.
And we the people that are out there today, the police are contacting their parents to let them know. I know when I was a kid, that would be the worst thing you could do is get in touch with my parents because I would be dead. But we can't let people be out there. It's just not safe to be out there. I had some conversations with the contractor that they'll be finishing up around the football field in the next couple weeks. They'll have that all done. Maybe we could move the fences, open that up, keep the rest of it closed, but that's a conversation for later. Right now, the complex is closed. The other fields are open. No organized games, no pickup games, no organized sports. You can just go up there and use them and try to enjoy them as best you can. Again, the dog park's open. Widows Walk is open. The new POS system is up, so you can do online reservations and online payment. Starting yesterday, golf carts are now available again. One person to a golf cart unless you are from the same family. We are limiting them at Widows Walk to 2 carts per group just because we don't have enough carts if 4 people take a cart. But you can now get golf carts and you can do all that online. Ian Kelly, our new golf pro, has done a great job getting that up and running in a very short period of time. Starting next week, the transfer station is going to ask residents to separate their cardboard and paper when they come in. They will have extra bins. Separating cardboard and paper improves the quality of our waste stream, increases the value of what we're getting rid of, and thereby reduces our disposal costs because we're getting more from the vendor that we're getting rid of. So that's going to start next week. Signs will go up, and there will be additional bins for people to separate their cardboard and their paper. Bad news, property taxes are due Monday, June 1st. The board had put that off for a month. We're at about 96% collected, which is really good. Thank you, everybody who paid their taxes. If you haven't, you have until June 1st now to pay your taxes, which is Monday. You can drop it in the mail or pay it online. 2 other updates. The water department, the engineering firm has finished the engineering of replacing those 2-inch lines around town. The water department is reviewing the RFP to put that out to bid. We expect that to go out to bid in June and probably start construction mid-July, I would think, if all goes well, and we'll get those replaced. And that's the next big phase of the brown water issue, is getting rid of those small pipes and really improving that flow. The good news is we've been using a lot of water up at the Council on Aging for dust control. We also, if the board members had that fire down at Go Green, a lot of water was used on that, and the water department has received no calls about brown water. We also did a test last week before.
Fire flow test.
Fire flow test, which causes a lot of sedimentation on the pipes, and also received no calls about brown water. So
Great.
hopefully right now things are looking better. Well, July 4th is always the test, but right now we're getting good reports that the system is much cleaner. Finally, for the board, we sent notices to Cedar Point residents requesting easements for the replacement of the laterals in the Cedar Point project. To date, we've only received about 25% of those back. We will be sending another one out. We are going to replace those laterals as part of the project. From a coordination standpoint and a contractor standpoint, we can't have 130-plus people doing their own laterals at their own time and have them inspect those and everything. So we're going to need those to go forward. We will be sending out another notice, I think, shortly, Kevin.
Hopefully this week.
To those residents, but we need to get those back so we can get that project and get going after we get the funding at town meeting. That's what I have for tonight.
Great. I'll open it up to the select people who are remotely. Just raise your hand. Karen Canfield?
Just to follow up on the Cedar Point, when is construction ideally supposed to start?
We haven't bidded yet, Karen. We still need to get additional funding at town meeting, so until we get the money at town meeting, whenever that will be, after that, we'll go out to bid. Right now, we're looking at a town meeting at the end of June, so you'd be going to bid in July sometime, and which means your construction probably wouldn't be till August, September, mid-August to September, I would think.
Thank you.
Any other from remote select people? Maura?
I just have one. Jim, are we outlining to the residents at Cedar Point the ramifications of not signing those easements after your second request, like what the next process will be, whether it's we're just moving forward, like whatever it is, are we communicating that to them?
Yeah, I mean, Kevin and I are discussing what the ramifications of that are going to be. I think the real threat is that if you don't let us do it, we're not going to let you connect into the sewer, which is going to be a problem. But we have to do the laterals. We can't have all these different companies doing different laterals at different times. So we haven't drafted the letter yet. I'll share a copy of it when we get it, but it will have some language about what's going to happen if people don't sign it.
I just think it should go out with the second easement request.
Yeah, I mean, I think at that point, the board's going to have to have a discussion. If people don't want to sign the easements, then we'll have to decide whether we want to go forward with this project or go back to the original project. In that case, if they don't give us the easement, they'll be forced to put in their own pump, their own chamber, and all that stuff at their own expense.
Right. That was all true.
Sean?
The issues with the easements are going to be the cost. Some people have laterals that I might guess 6 feet, 10 feet. And if the costs for these laterals are thousands and thousands of dollars, I don't think I would sign that either. So we have to be fair about it. I'm getting feedback from my computer, so it sounds like I'm in an echo chamber.
We hear you fine.
You get
You're
my
good.
point.
Sean, I mean, I think it's all going to even out in the wash. You might have a short lateral, but it could be an asbestos pipe that you didn't even know about. If you had to dispose of that, the cost of that's going to be outrageous. So when we have a number in for the laterals, we have the estimate of $9 million for this whole project. We think those numbers are high, just as we had $8 million for the green sand filter, it came in much less. But that's the estimates we have, and we think those numbers will come way down. It's just we can't have all those contractors doing all those laterals at all different times. We have to put the laterals in, shut off the old system, turn on the new system.
I realize it's a real sensitive area, but when these discussions are going on, Tony, you cannot have it over phones and computers. This is just way too serious for this sort of stuff.
Yeah, I think, Karen, go ahead. Karen Conley?
Yeah, I thought that the cost of installing the laterals is included in the entire cost of the project.
It is.
So it shouldn't matter if you've got a long lateral or a short one, because everyone's paying the same amount, right?
Right, but I think some people are looking at it saying, my lateral's 5 feet, so if I was doing my own lateral, it would only cost me this much, but I'm going to have to pay part of your cost on a long lateral. I don't agree with it, but I think that's what people are saying.
Yeah, but the problem with that is that some people have no children in schools, other people have 5. This is called common community, and if this project, shouldn't matter It will matter to you if you have a longer lateral, if you're going to pay for it yourself. But if you're not paying for it yourself, and essentially it's a group project, the cost being spread across everyone, then I don't know what they're complaining about, other than the fact we don't like the amount of money. But we told them that it was going to be substantially higher than the pressure system.
So clearly, it's a sensitive topic. The number's a high number, and I think the residents are trying to do what they can to get it lower. This is the project they agreed to. It always had the laterals included. And just to remind everybody, the town is participating $4.5 million towards the project, both the state and the town. So, so we're doing the project that they asked for, and unfortunately, there's some give and take in terms of, individual properties. But like Jim said, you can't have 130 people trying to put in their own lateral in time to make the project work. Karen Canfield?
Just a quick question. Do we have a timeline on when the Drew project's breaking ground?
The Drew project?
They were supposed to be starting this spring. I have not got an update from the planning board on where they are. They were originally going to start May, June. I'm not sure if they are at this point, Karen. I'll have to find out.
Did you hear that?
I'm sorry, no, it all broke up.
We don't know exactly. We're thinking May, June is when he heard last, so he'll have to talk to planning and find out.
Okay, because this is all very connected from the Mass Works grant that's helping to pay for this project, so
Right.
We can't lose sight of that as well. There's a great deal involved in this.
Right. A couple of the points I just want to bring up. That's phenomenal news about the brown water. So we've done stuff in the past that has caused huge stretches of land to come back, or properties to come back and complain about brown water, and we're getting no calls right now. So I think all the hard work that we all put into it looks like it's, working to some degree. As you said, in a month we'll know for sure, but all the preliminary information is great. And I want to thank Kevin for all that, the whole water department, Jim, and everyone else that's been involved. Yes, Kevin?
If I can comment on that.
Yeah.
If people are experiencing groundwater, let us know so we can go out and flush those areas. If we don't know, we can't address it.
Right.
And that's one of the big things. But, I think we received, one call that was unrelated, but I don't know of any talking to the water department that we really get hit with. But if they are getting calls or are getting areas, we have to know about it so we can address it.
Right. So again, information is critical. Go to the website, send an email if you're getting brown water so that the team can go and address it. One other point is just all the things that Jim just mentioned with the fields being open, the beaches being open, the parks being open. I think our thought process through this is to open everything and give the citizens of the town the opportunity to use all the assets of the town. But we're also hoping that everyone just does it smartly. That you do social distance and that you do wear face masks so that we don't have to go to some other step and get the police involved to kick you off a field that you're clearly not supposed to be on, or close properties, like beaches or dog parks or anything like that. So for the most part, people are doing this, but we're just hoping that's our hope, is that everybody can use everything and just do it smartly. So we're asking everybody to do that. The only other thing I will mention is that high school, the high school kids, their graduation was going to be this Friday, and they kind of had a tough time this year with their senior years being, diminished to some degree in a lot of the events they had. So there is going to be a bit of a car parade out here where they're going to drive around the school and say goodbye to their teachers or get congratulations from their teachers. So I wanted to thank the school for putting that together. So if you see a little parade on Friday afternoon, wave to a senior that's gone through a tough time. That's all I have. Anybody else? Okay.
No.
So the first article that we or item that we have this evening is discussion vote for a National Grid poll petition. Is National Grid on the phone? So is it Jose?
Yes. Hello, can you hear me?
We can.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, good evening, board and Situate residents. My name is Jose from National Grid.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, we're just petitioning to install a sub pole on Sedgwick Drive. The reason for this was during a storm, one of the pole-to-tree guys was ripped down. So we made it safe, but we would like to add a pole across the street to support the power lines at the intersection of Sedgwick and Townsend Road.
Are you removing the old pole?
Well, the way they had it before was before the guy wires were directly into a tree. So what happened was the tree came down in the storm, and so we had to make a temporary repair. So there's no existing pole. We just want to install a new pole to correct the problem.
Okay. We got all the paperwork, and we all looked at it. There wasn't an explanation as why, so thank you for giving us that. Any questions from the remote select people? Sean, anything?
Nothing from me, Joe.
Karen Canfield?
Just to clarify, so if I look at the backup, it looks as if where the pole is going does not have a residence? Is that correct? Can we tell that?
That's correct, yeah. When I went out there, I believe it's town-owned property. It's just trees, and there's no residence on the side of where the new pole is going.
Okay, I think it's privately owned, but I don't believe that there's a residence there. Thank you.
Did you, Jose, did you speak with the residents, and are they all fine with the position of the pole?
This was actually called in during the storm, so it was by a passerby that realized that the wire was down. I did not speak. I think the resident is on 100 at the corner there. I did not speak with the resident, but the other alternative will be to kind of put something in front of the house, which we don't want to do. So we feel like this is the best option, where it's across the street and there's no resident. There's no resident across from the pole.
Right, so, but did you speak with anybody? I know the Montgomerys are out there, the Gates are out there. There are many, are they all good with the positioning?
I did not speak with any of the residents.
Okay.
Tony,
Yes, Sean?
if it goes across the street from the Montgomerys, there is a stretch of woods right there. It might not affect anybody.
Want to show that?
Right.
Yeah, we have a picture here. I don't know if you can get that, Seth.
I just got that from Kevin Cafferty today.
Okay. So it is in a little piece of wooded land, not in front of anybody's house or anything. Great. If there's no more questions, Karen Conley, I can't see you. Hold on. Great.
No,
If not,
I'm good.
I'll take a motion.
Well, we probably have callers calling in for the public hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yep.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, I should have.
Yeah, you ready to open it
Yeah,
up?
so let's open it up to questions and answers.
Q&A session has started.
Is there anybody on the line that has a question about the poll petition? Michelle shaking her head no, so it does not look like anyone's there for that.
Q&A session is over.
Okay. So if everyone's good with it, can I have a motion? Maura?
Yes, sorry. Move to approve National Grid Plan number 29527766 to install a new pole on Sedgwick Drive, 40 feet northwest of Townsend Road, as indicated on the map provided.
Second by
Second.
Mr. Canfield.
Second.
Further discussion? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote.
Mr. Vignani?
Yes?
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Ms.
Ms.
Conley?
Canfield?
Yes.
Ms. Conley?
Yes.
And Ms. Carr?
Yes.
Great, that's unanimous, 5-0. Jose, thank you for joining us remotely. And do you have a timetable on when that'll go in?
I can check with the scheduler, but usually after the petition, it takes about a couple weeks to get on the schedule and get a date saved. So I would say maybe 3 to 4 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks from now,
Great. Thank you very much.
just to be safe. Yeah, thank you so much, and thank you for your time, board. Have a great night.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a couple of, the next items that we have are some contracts for the purchase of some IT stuff. Is Mike joining us remotely?
Yeah, he
I
should
am.
be. Yep. He's
Hey, Mike, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Great, so the first one is for the fiber ring, that contract. Do you want to tell us a little bit about it? I know it was passed at the last town meeting.
So the fiber ring is, that we're just joining all our town buildings to the existing fiber ring that was put in by the schools some 7 or 8 years ago. So all the buildings will join the fiber ring, be able to allow them to communicate at high speeds for data and eventually voice. And they'll all come back to the communication shelter that's behind Town Hall and can go off to the data center, which is located at the Public Safety Building. This fiber also allows the next,
The heck is that?
Who's our tech guy?
Okay. We got you now, Mike.
this
Keep
fiber
going.
also will allow for the video piece of the security system that's coming up next for discussion. So it'll allow the transmission of the video.
Okay. So this was, the dollar amount of this is, hold on, is this the 193? And,
So we have a $200,000 grant that we won from the state earlier this year.
right,
And so the 193,550 would be part of the, covered by the grant. We've already spent a little over $7,000 to make some repairs to the old gate school. When they did the construction, they took down the fiber line that was feeding the building. We had to reinstall the fiber over there so we could have control of the heating system and the existing security system for that the schools manage. So the 193 will pretty much use up the rest of the grant. And if we don't use the grant by the end of the year, actually I think it's February of next year, we would have to return any unspent money.
right. And I was just going to go over, maybe you have it in front of you, Mike, is the buildings that it's connecting. Is there 7 or 8?
So, yes, it's actually 12 in total, but the project will cover the communications shed that's behind Town Hall, library, station, Fire Station 1, the highway building, the Harbor Master building, community center. We're going to reallocate fiber that's already run into the old gate school for the rec department. We have to make some changes there. Eventually, at any town meeting, approval of some fund transfers, we'll be able to install fiber down at the water treatment plant, the wastewater treatment plant, Widows Walk, and
Library.
The water department office building.
Great. And now we're doing this for both speed and security, correct?
That's correct. Yep. And the ring is diverse, so the ring goes around the town. There's one big circle around town, and every building joins the ring in 2 different directions. So if a tree came down and took out half the fiber, let's say the one side of the town, the fiber the data will automatically flow over the other side and get it back to the data center. So
Great.
we'll have that redundancy.
That's cool.
Great. I'll open up some questions for Mike from first the remote select people. Just,
No.
Nope.
okay, Maura, do you have any questions?
I just wanted to confirm, Mike, you said this fiber optic will accommodate future video use, since we'll probably see that increasing?
The video I was referring to is the security video, the camera feed.
Okay.
So for the security cameras that you guys we're going to discuss momentarily. So video requires high bandwidth. Currently, we don't have that bandwidth available to be able to send video over it. So the video cameras would be able to make use of this fiber so the video can get back to the existing servers that reside at the public safety complex. And that would be the recording servers for those new cameras, as well as being able to live stream the video into the police and fire dispatch center. The fiber will also help us with that.
Great. I don't have any questions. Thanks for the explanation, Mike. Can I have a,
Karen,
Karen?
Karen Canfield.
You like that? Can I ask one question, Mr.
Yes.
Chair?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Mike, does this, I just noticed that I couldn't figure it out from the backup. Will this impact our ability to link buildings to live streaming meetings and stuff through our community cable? Or is that a separate thing?
So that Comcast provides fiber for that purpose. So Comcast has run separate fiber from public safety to the high school's head end, the high school's data center, and I think the library as well. So it's completely separate.
Okay, thank you. I wasn't confused by that.
Yeah, the video he mentioned was for security.
I was going to just say, just to make sure that we discussed this too. There's another $80,000 or $90,000 for this project that is not on this. This project right now, the fiber cost for the 193. We have to buy a lot of the networking equipment, and that's essentially the $200,000 grant plus the line item transfers at the town meeting will cover the entire project. Some of the fiber here in this project is allocated specifically and directly related to the water and treatment departments, water and sewer departments, excuse me. And some of that equipment will also be allocated to them.
Okay, I don't see any other questions. Why don't we open it up to Q&A?
Q&A session has started.
Is there anyone on the line that has a question about the fiber optic ring that we're discussing?
If so, they need to hit *61.
If so, you have to hit *61. And I'll give the number again real quick. 425-436-6308, 6338, 6300, and then the access code is 817-651#. Okay, Michelle's shaking her head. There's no one on there for that. Ms. Canfield, did you have another
Q&A
question?
session is over.
Everyone all set? All right, Maura, can I have a motion?
You may move to award a contract to Comtrack Corp. For the production and installation of fiber optic cabling at municipal facilities in the amount not to exceed $193,550.
Second by
Second.
Ms. Canfield. Further discussion? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call vote.
Mr. Vignani?
Yes?
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Ms. Canfield?
Yes.
Ms. Conley?
Yes.
And Ms. Carter?
Yes.
Great, that's unanimous, 5-0. So Mike, we'll keep going with you. So now we have the $394,000 topic of discussion for the BCM control security contract.
So this is a project to install card access and security cameras in all town buildings, or at least the town buildings listed here, which is pretty much almost all of them. And the cameras will be in a live feedback and dispatch. They'll also be recording back at the server room in public safety complex. And buildings will have panic buttons, which will summons the police immediately. It's pretty straightforward in terms of what we're getting with this project.
Okay, and also deals with doors and other security features as well?
Yep, card access for door control, right. Security cameras, panic button.
Right. And if I've read it correctly, it's the same company that we already did the project with the schools, and they're coming over to do the town properties now.
That's correct. And this is the same company that maintains the card access system and the camera system at public safety currently.
Great. Any remote select people have a question?
No.
Okay. Maura?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Good. Do you know when this will be done, Mike?
I'm sorry, repeat the question.
What's the timetable?
So on this particular project, they can't finish this job until the fiber gets installed. So we've drafted the contract such a way that they're going to do some of the important sites first. Important meaning ones that are already ready to go. So we've already run the fiber over at Recreation. Town Hall is already a part of the fiber. So those ones are going to come on first. We expect those to happen for at least card access and card access within the first 4 weeks. Cameras at Town Hall within the first 4 weeks. And then they're going to start all the other buildings. So overall, collectively, we're talking several months, maybe the end of the summer.
Okay.
Good, that's cool.
Michelle, can we open up the Q&A?
Q&A session has started.
So if you're on the line and you have a question regarding the security item that we're talking about, hit *61. Michelle's shaking her head, so there's no one pushing that. So we will move forward. Can I have a motion?
Sure. To award a contract to BCM Control Corporation for the production and installation of security measures at municipal facilities in an amount not to exceed $394,483.56.
Second by
Second.
Mr. Harris. All in favor, we'll do a roll call vote.
Mr. Vignani?
Yes?
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Ms. Canfield?
Yes.
Ms. Conley?
Yes.
And Ms. Carney?
Yes.
That is a unanimous 5-0 vote.
Q&A session is over.
Mike, thank you for explaining all of that, and best of luck getting it organized.
Thank you very much, guys. Have a great night.
Good night.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next topic on this evening is for us to discuss the recreational field permits, rules, and regulations. It's been updated, and I know we have some rec people on the line to discuss it. I will give a quick overview that this, the Rec Commission and Maura and Kevin took this very seriously. They spent hours and hours talking about this. There were many, many meetings where this was debated. Full input from many, many youth organizations in terms of the use of the fields. I know they went through and looked at what other towns were doing. There's a lot to digest here, but they very kindly highlighted the things in yellow that are changing. So we had a good program in place, and like all good programs, they're just reevaluating it and adapting it to the times and to the needs. So, that being said, is it Jennifer, are you on?
Yes, I am here.
Hi, Jennifer. And Maura, are you there?
I am. Yes, I am.
Do you know who else is? Is Nick there or Kevin?
Kevin is like.
Hi, Kevin. Great. So, Maura, who from your group is going to present or discuss?
My chairman of my commission, Jennifer McMillan.
Okay. Hi, Jen.
She's going to present it, and then if you have any questions, I guess we'll answer them accordingly.
Great. So, Jennifer, I gave a 10,000-foot overview. If you want to add some more details to it, and then we can open it up to the board to kind of get into the document a little bit more.
Okay. Thanks, Tony. Yeah, you did a great job on that, and we did have a lot of feedback from the youth group. You know, this is going to affect them. These are their fields, and this is their permit they have to use. And we actually thought we had it all done, and then there were some concerns and questions that were brought up, which led to some more changes to it. So in front of you is our, I'm going to call it our semi-final draft. In case there's any questions or concerns that you guys bring up, that we may need to alter it.
Great.
And like you said, on the yellow highlighted are the things that we changed. And the things that we've changed on like the page 2, on the admission charge per person, purpose of use, and if it's for a nonprofit being paid under this permit. That's to help Kevin determine what class they're going to be under when it comes to pricing. That's something that wasn't there before, and we added that because we feel that there's going to be some extended use of the field. People are going to be looking to permit the field who had never permitted it before. And the other changes, page 3 and into page 4, is the field permit process. Town and Central Recreation Department has equal priority during high school off-season, directed by MIAA guidelines. Special exemption requirement for class rate change. That second highlight is something that came from our meeting, based on some concerns that some of the youth groups had as to programming that they wanted to be able to run, which they aren't able to run right now under the current permit situation. For example, if a group wants to bring in paid coaches to run any type of a clinic, on that fine print, they're not allowed to use the brass field because it's a for-profit and not a town for-profit making money on the brass field. And we took that into consideration, and there's also a new exemption form that has been created. Blanket permitting is not allowed. So a youth group can't come in and say, you know, they just want it for this and they don't want to tell us what they want it for. They have to be very specific as to what the fields are going to be used for during the times that they have it. Fireworks, fires, and cooking is not allowed. Unfortunately, that does have to be put in there because a few years ago the turf field was damaged, I believe, by fireworks. Use of weapons, drugs, alcohol, tobacco, prohibited by such a public ground. That's something that was added. It really should have been there all along because those fields are on the high school campus. And then on page 4, should anyone under any permit using Town of Situate Field not abide by regulations, you could be subject to possible fine, suspension, or loss of permit. We never really had any clear guidelines as to what would happen if somebody did break the rules that are set forth in this permitting process. So that's another attachment that was sent. Page 5, there's no changes to that. Page 6, no changes to that.
Right.
So that's the actual permit. Does anybody have any questions on that?
Yeah, we'll go through that in 1 second. I know that there's a lot to digest for the board. One thing, a couple other comments I just want to make in terms of the board. Jen mentioned a second ago that, you know, that they kind of got all these rules in a line, and then a new topic would come up and kind of, you know, they'd change their thoughts. So, you know, Mike, I think, was the chair for some of it, and he did a great job kind of doing inclusive. And the one thing, it may have been Dave that brought up that this is really a dynamic document, because there's always going to be a situation that pops up that is not going to be quite, you know, shoehorned into this document. And I think they added language, Jen, correct me if I'm wrong, where the kind of questionable activities would go back to the commission, and they would have the ability to decide one way or the other.
Yeah, that's the special exempt request form.
Right. So I thought that was smart also. Great. So I will open it up again. I don't think, and I'll get the board's opinion on this, because of the way that we're meeting nowadays, I'm wondering if we should discuss it tonight but not necessarily vote it tonight, and give people the opportunity to maybe see it on TV and add questions and maybe vote it at the next meeting.
Meaning youth groups?
Yeah,
We were
youth groups or
anticipating
anybody.
that there would be some questions or, some tweaking that might be made to it. So that's fine with us. We're obviously not permitting the field right now
Right.
until things clear up, so.
Good. Okay, so I'll open it up to we'll go with the remote select people first, although I can't see you for some reason. I can only see Karen Canfield. Karen, why don't we start with you until I figure this out? Karen Canfield.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. I think that your recommendation to wait until, we can have some time for people to digest this is a good one, because as Jen pointed out, it's not like we're going to be permitting tomorrow, and there is a lot here. Jen, would you mind, I didn't quite understand the whole, what happens if a for-profit wants to use our grass fields? They're not allowed at all? I didn't quite understand that.
No, as the permitting process has been all along, for-profits are not allowed to use the grass field. And that is something that we feel strongly on. My equation of it is, I can't go set up a yard sale at the common and use town property for profit. So we were pretty firm on the fact that, yes, we're getting these amazing new fields, but our grass fields still need some help.
Yeah.
And if we open them up, it's just going to give them even more abuse than they've already seen over the years.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I just wanted to make sure I understood. Two quick other questions. The change that on page, on a page, where the Situate Rec Department has equal priority to the high school during off-season. I presume that the high school had input on that policy, or have they opined?
It was always that way. The wording was directed by MIAA guidelines.
Okay.
And yes.
And have we done anything?
Silhouette.
Have we done anything? Okay. The last question I had was, if we charge a fee, we haven't defined it.
There's a fee. There's another attachment. This town and Pittsburgh Field facility rental chart. And this chart has been in existence for a while. We just changed some of the pricing in some of the classes.
No, I'm sorry. I mean, in here you say that if you violate this, you might be subject to a fee. Is that fee defined? Are you saying it's
a fine? It is defined.
Oh, sorry, fine. Yeah.
It's a fine. The only place it's defined at all is under camps and clinics, where they're required to leave a $500 deposit. We're not requiring anybody else to really leave a deposit. So if there is a fine, it would be that.
Okay, I would suggest that in the final draft, we should probably define what a fine would be for somebody that doesn't have a deposit if they violate the rules.
Yeah.
That would be
That is
my
part,
suggestion.
that's
Or up to.
part of the fluidity of these fields.
Mm-hmm.
The fine may be we had to pay a janitor to clean something up, and that's the fine. Or the fine may be somebody lit fireworks off, and we need to replace, patch and repair the tarp. So we didn't want to make it
Specific.
so
I
you
understand.
can have leeway.
So maybe the language should be possible fines as at the sole discretion of town of Situate or something. Just because if we're going to enforce it, we're going to have some strength behind the rattling. That would be my only comment.
And what was the wording you said? Sorry?
I would say fine at the sole discretion of the town of Situate. Which, you know, might be arguable, but at least it adds a little more meat to it.
Okay.
Hey, Karen, this is Mara. You're saying town of Situate. Would it be better if it said by the Board of Selectmen? I mean, you are the town of Situate. I'm trying to figure out who is going to determine. That's usually a gross violation if it's some kind of
Would be the commission.
Correct.
a fine attached to it like that. Or it could be as they trashed the field and didn't pick up their trash. Also, it's a wide range.
I would ask, Mr. Town Administrator, do you have an opinion on this subject?
I mean, I like to make sure that whatever the fine is, it fits the crime. I don't want to have a $50 fine and have someone have done $2,000 damage to the field, and we only charge them $50. So I think it has to be open to the Recreation Commission. They would be the one that would impose the fine, and that if people wanted to appeal, the appeal would come to the Board of Selectmen. But I don't think the Board of Selectmen would be the adjudicating authority in the first point.
I think that's perfect.
Yeah, I do too.
Not Situate Recreation Department.
Commission.
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 Commission. Okay.
Great.
Okay.
Karen Canfield, did you have others? Oh,
No, thank you, Mr. Chair. That's it.
Karen Conley?
I don't think we've got to the rental chart yet, but I guess my overall question is about all of the fees. Are they enough? I'm trying to figure out how you get to these numbers, and what I'm trying to think about is what kind of money we're going to be able to generate through these fees that will enable us to keep up the fields, improve the fields, and have money in 5 or 10 or however many years to replace some of the fields. And so I guess my question would be, do all these fees, based on your past experience, do they generate enough money for us to have a good maintenance fund and an eventual replacement fund?
Well, Kevin did extensive research and looked at pricing of other fields. We priced them competitively, but in our favor, in hopes that if it comes down to using our field or neighboring fields, if they can save a little bit of money and get on a newer field, then they might be using our field to kind of help with the supply and demand. Kevin, are you online? Are you able to talk about
I'm sorry.
the towns that you looked at?
Yep, I was just going to jump in. So I don't have the list in front of me, but I'm going to say there was somewhere in the order of 8 to 10 towns, including the DCI with the state, that we had checked for rates and specifically, what towns charge for turf as opposed to grass, that sort of thing. So we try to get a sense what other people were doing in this area, and then we, as Jen stated, we price them accordingly. So we're not super high, but we're not the lowest either, or try to stay somewhere in the middle. In terms of how much revenue we generate, I mean, part of that is kind of unknown because the fields are new. We haven't been able to attract groups before for tournaments and jamborees, that sort of thing. So we don't really know what we're looking at going ahead. Obviously this year is going to be different than next year because of what's going on health-wise.
Right. Well, I guess my point is I just want to be sure that the money that we're generating from the use of fields, in addition to whatever money is generated by selling ad space, if it's possible, at some of the locations, that we have money that will enable us to maintain, improve, and replace when necessary. So that's, I assumed you had gone to other towns to look at what they were charging based on, what their fields were like as well. You would do that, but I just want to be sure that part of this is that we're concerned about having enough money available to do what we need to do. So,
Karen, can I Nancy, where does the money from that revenue go?
on the annual town meeting warrant, there is an article to create a field revolving fund.
And who dictates what that gets spent on?
It would be under the control of the Recreation Commission unless you decide differently, because it'll be in the general bylaws, and you can amend the town meeting warrant article if you decide you don't want it to be under control of any specific department.
Yeah, Jen, did
I
you?
didn't hear any of that.
Go ahead, Karen.
She didn't hear it.
I said I didn't hear any of that.
Oh, I'm sorry. She said that there's an article at the annual town meeting to create a revolving fund?
Yes.
Where all that money will go. And we've got to decide whose discretion it will be to spend that money.
Okay.
Right now, it's with the Rec Commission. Jen, did you guys have any policy on that money would be saved towards replacement of a turf in 10 years or something like that?
That's what we.
But there's nothing in place right now. I can speak for Jennifer. There, in that revolving account that's going to be created in the next town meeting, there would probably be line items on there where the money will be dispersed. That would be something that Nancy Holt and myself would probably work on and bring it to my commission for approval. And you, I guess, it's sort of like the beach sticker, how that's handled, the same type of thing. It's line item when it comes in and how it gets dispersed. Am I correct, Nancy?
That's one way that could be handled, yes.
Yeah, I guess what I think Karen's getting at is some portion of that revenue should not be spent on programming, but on maintenance. And what the commission's thought was on that.
Right.
Yeah, it's not spent on programming. It hasn't been. It's spent on payroll, but the programming, correct me if I'm wrong, Maura, your programming is
Another part of my revolving, yes. I don't spend field money on programming. Field money is spent on field, allocated towards the fields. So when I get something, if we charge a youth, say it's youth lacrosse, all that goes into the field account that's connected to my revolving, but that's allocated only for fields. Now it's going to be spun off on its own revolving account after this town meeting that's coming up.
Has there been any talk of there was talk a while back about selling ad space at the, especially at the high school athletic complex. That money will go to this fund, correct?
That's undecided.
No, I haven't really looked into selling any ads or any of that sort yet.
There are people talking about it.
Yeah, so Bill Ouellette is working on a program.
Anything that is any advertising revenue, athletic complex goes into the revolving fund, perhaps the Recreation Commission, because ultimately the town is responsible for taking care of all these fields. So it's not technically, shouldn't be school revenue, and I don't want to cause trouble, but I feel strongly about that. So,
just a little.
I get where you're coming from, Karen, to be honest with you, and so that money will be coming into the recreation department, into the field account, and be dispersed and allocated appropriately. The school really, I don't think, will be collecting fees for that. If they do, it would have to go, I'm assuming, to this field account and allocated there.
I completely understand that they might want to have input as to the appropriateness of some of the signage or the companies. They want to be sure we're not taking tobacco money or whatever. But aside from having that sort of input, I don't think that, it's not their money.
Mm-hmm.
So just to update, I had a conversation with that group months ago now, and I know Bill Ouellette is working on a plan for some advertising program over there, and they didn't have the details of it down, but they did verbally commit to taking, at least some portion of that money towards the future maintenance of those fields. So, but they,
all of it.
yeah. So
I want it all. I want it all. I hope I'm not. No. But if they don't.
All right, that's a different battle.
Okay.
To do the rest of the money that he wasn't putting towards the field.
Say that again, I didn't hear you.
Did Bill indicate to where if 100% of the money wasn't going to go into a revolving account to maintain the field?
No,
Or he envisioned
it's
that-
still in the works, but they're aware that at least part of the money, if not all, have to be going towards the maintenance of the fields. But I don't think anything has come to a conclusion yet. I know they don't have an advertising program in place. Jim, do you know differently than me?
No, I know they were looking to raise some money to upgrade the scoreboard on the football field. They wanted to go with a video type scoreboard. I know they wanted to raise money for that, but that was the last I heard about it.
Yeah. So there'll be discussions about that, and Karen will get you involved. So I think one takeaway from here is, Nancy, we should figure out what we want if there should be some parameters for that revolving fund on town meeting. So Karen, think about that. Karen's and Maura. Do you have any other questions, Karen Conley?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Maura?
Thank you. I had a couple, I share the same observation that Mrs. Canfield shared. So I do think we need to have some language in there outlining the offenses and fines, however broadly it needs to be written, just so it's addressed. Secondly, do these fees cover the cost of the lights as well? That always seems to have been a bone of contention in years past with regards to who pays for the lights, the schools or us, and where does that bill get paid from?
Maura, can you comment on the lights?
By the school, and that's always been the case. We do the permitting, and then the person needs the lights. They then contact the school, and whatever fees are associated with the lighting is paid to the school. And we haven't changed that.
So it's a separate
The lights
fee.
and the concessions have been managed,
Seems a
and
little
fees
cumbersome.
collected for that have been managed by the school department.
Okay. I'm not gonna pick that battle now, but I think that's a little cumbersome. I don't think you should have to go, a permitter should have to go to the school department for one fee and the town for another fee. We gotta get together and button that up.
Well, there hasn't been a lot of...
Mara, this is Mara. With the lights, they had to manually be turned on prior to the old turf. Now that the new turfs are out there, it's going to be an app, and it's going to be on. I think we talked about it today. Kevin and I did in. I think Nancy Holt. I talked to her a little bit about it today. We'll probably share responsibility if it's a school event. They have access to put the lights on, and we won't have to deal with that. But anything other than a school event, it would be recreation. We're just kind of walking through this, trying to figure this out too. The school in the past really had to hire a custodian to come in and flip on the switch and flip it off. And they said that generated most of the income that came in to pay the custodian fees for doing that. They haven't had anything like that in the past year because the turf hasn't been there, so I don't really know how that's going to proceed. The only thing that I would say was to split it, have a couple people access it with their phones or on their iPhones. So when Kevin gets a permit for the fields, he would then schedule the lights to go on and to shut off. If the school has an event, then they schedule it for their lights to go on and off. The amount of fee and how much it's going to cost, that's something I don't know how that works out at all.
Okay.
Well, who pays the electric bill?
The school does.
No.
Nancy?
Oh, do you?
Nancy does.
It's convoluted and not easy. They pay one and we pay one. So if we could streamline that, it would be great.
Yeah, I think we need to put that on
Okay,
the
that doesn't
table.
have to be,
Decided tonight, no, but it raises an issue I
Yep,
think
it's a
that
good point.
we're all taking a look at, and, okay.
so maybe, Jen, can we just throw that back at your plate? So can your commission get together and kind of do some analysis on the lights?
Well, I know, like Maura said, they were charged $50 previously, and we don't know if that $50, because we weren't paying the bills, we weren't sending out the bills, so we don't know if any of that $50 contributed towards the electric bill or not.
Yeah, I'm just saying, someone's got to do just some legwork to find out what's going on with it. Or maybe,
We'll look into it, Tony.
yeah, if someone can just do it, that'd be great.
Yeah.
And my only other observation was very minute and probably dumb in the eyes of many. But if this is a document, do you update it every year? Or is your goal to get it more streamlined so you don't have to update it every year?
It hasn't been updated in 5 years more.
Okay.
I think it was July of 2016 was the last time it was updated, and that's, I believe it was 16 or 17, I'm not sure off the top of my head, but that's the closest it's been. I think it's 17, July of 2017 it was
Okay.
updated. We brought it to you and presented it to the Board of Selectmen. We didn't have the new turf, so that's why all this is kind of
Yeah.
changing, so
Nope, it's great. And
that's why
that,
this is going through an overhaul.
that helps me with my next suggestion. Should we create an email box for the field coordinator? Because right now it's K. Devon. Don't know how long Kevin's going to work. 5 years, 2 years, 3 years, 10 years. You know, do we make it more of a general box that says field coordinator at situatemass.gov? That way you don't have to go back and change it. There's not outdated information out there. Should Kevin move along, change, whatever. That was my only other.
I see what you're saying. So anytime there's a new field coordinator, I just go in there and change their email on the permit.
Okay.
If we want to create one, that would be with IT. Well, I'll talk to him about that tomorrow.
Okay. That was my only other suggestion, is to make it easier so you don't have to constantly update it.
No, it sounds good.
Kevin's never leaving.
I was going to say.
I don't want you to leave either, Kevin.
Okay.
What if Lorraine has anything to say about it? He's not.
No.
She just jinxed you. I don't have any questions. I think you guys did a great job.
Yeah,
Um,
thank you.
You know, I think it needed to be updated. I think you closed some loopholes. I think you have language in there now that you've been waiting to get in there so that people have to provide, you know, all the safety things that you want along the way. So I commend you guys for a great job on this document. So what we're not going to vote it tonight. I think some people suggested some changes like the fines and the maintenance stuff. So maybe you guys can just make those additional changes to the document. We'll put it on a future agenda, and then we can vote it quickly that night.
Okay.
Okay.
Any questions from Maura or Kevin or
At
Jen?
that point.
What was that, Jen?
And we will hopefully have the information on the lights at that meeting as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's not critical for this, but someone's got to dig into it a little bit. Let's open it up to Q&A, Michelle.
Q&A session has started.
Is there anyone online that wants to comment on the the recreation fees and policies? You'd have to hit star 61. Okay, we're seeing none. I just want to make a quick comment. The reason why Sean is not commenting is because his connection got
I
lost.
can hear you, Tony, I can hear you fine.
You're back? Good.
And
No,
we did,
I'm just listening. I'm just listening. I lost my video.
Didn't I just text you?
No, yeah, I'm texting you. I'm just listening on my iPhone. I can hear everybody.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
and Tony, we do have one person in the queue.
Okay, so there is one person in the queue. Sorry, Sean. Do you? I'll
You
I'll
ready?
go to the person in the queue, and then Sean, if you have anything, that'd be great. Go ahead. Caller, you're on line one.
Well, hi. My name is Bill Collins from 40 Briarwood Lane.
Hi, Bill.
Hi. I manage a team, a baseball team that I usually permit the baseball field behind the high school every summer. So I'm definitely interested in these new permit, the updated permitting guidelines and the fees and everything. So I so happened to have called Kevin earlier today before I even realized that this was on tonight's agenda. So I reached out to him already. So what I'm hoping is I can get a copy of the most up-to-date draft so I can take a look at that and perhaps provide some feedback From my perspective, I've been, as you know, Tony, I've been up in that field for many years, not only as a player and a manager, but working with the high school kids. So I know there was discussion earlier about the lights and everything, and the lights that were on the baseball field up there were primarily the donation came from Little League way back when, and we used to manage turning them on and off. Little League would do that. American Legion primarily had night games up there, and they kind of took care of turning lights on and off. High school events, we had some night events, but not as many as that happened throughout the summer. So I understand that the custodian would typically turn on and off the lights on the football field, and that was, for the most part, it was George. So I'm very interested in what's being discussed here. I'm glad you're not going to vote on anything tonight. And once again, I'm hoping I can get a copy of the most up-to-date guidelines.
Yep, definitely, Bill. Bill is a high school baseball coach, coached with Little League for decades, and then also is kind of runs the senior league up there. So he is Mr. Baseball in this town. Bill, we'll get you a copy of it.
One last comment, Tony.
Yeah.
I found it interesting. You guys were talking earlier tonight about security cameras and everything like that. I know over the weekend I heard it on my police scanner about kids moving equipment on the field. That kind of made me a little nervous. I've driven by the complex many times, sort of keeping my own eye on it, watching progress and making sure that none of that kind of thing was happening. So I also heard from Kevin today that there were other kids out there playing on it over the weekend. So I was just thinking about, I don't know if there's any plans about putting security-type cameras on that new complex now that all this money's been spent behind the high school.
Jim, do you know if any of the cameras are
I
going?
want to just throw that out there.
I don't recall. I believe there are some cameras as part of it, but I don't recall exactly how much or what.
Check on it.
We'll look into that, Bill. That's a good idea.
Okay. And lastly, I'm learning a lot listening tonight. I've heard about the signage and fundraising for putting signage up at the high school. I'm hoping, and maybe I'll have a conversation with Bill Ouellette myself, but I'm hoping that as part of that, they may use some of the fundraising. I'm thinking particularly the baseball program, for maybe helping the programs purchase needed equipment. Some of the equipment can be a little bit costly. So, there has to be some sort of fundraising done to do it, because I don't think the town's going to be paying for certain pieces of equipment. So I'm not sure if that's a portion of it or not, but I'll be very interested to find out what that money would be used for.
Yep. We'll look
Thank you very much, and thanks to everybody's work on the rec committee for the work they've done.
Right.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Good
Bill.
night.
The only thing I'll add to Bill's
Night.
comment is the light system that's up there. Little League did participate a lot, but the main funding source was the Reedy Foundation. So Paul and Jim Reedy and John, all the Reedy's family donated those lights in their father's name. So
And those lights are still there. They've just been moved all the way over onto the grass field on the end. We relocated those as part of the project. So those lights are still at the complex and will be operational.
right.
So they have nothing to do with the app and
They
all
will
that?
be the old school,
The old school, turn them on.
turn them on, turn them off, yeah.
Okay.
Great. Okay, so is there anybody else in the queue?
Q&A session is over.
So Sean, do you have any comments before we vote to move this to the next meeting?
No. My only thing, Karen Canfield had touched on it. Would it matter if the for-profit organization was from in town or out of town? Makes no difference. I would assume Mara or Jen, correct?
Let me look at that chart again. There used to be something on there that.
I remember years ago with the.
Oh, you're right. Yeah,
Yeah.
Sean, there is a different rate class
There is
for
a
out of
class
town.
4, there's a class 4 and a class 5. Class 4 is a Situate nonprofit working in conjunction with a for-profit organization holding an event. And class 5 is for a Situate for-profit and nonprofit organizations outside of Situate. And class 6 is for profit organizations outside of Situate.
Right. So they.
Certainly done your homework. Great.
Yeah. There you go.
So they added number 4 to be, they're like the Situate Youth Soccer that hires a, a coach to come in and help coach the kids for camps or what have you. And that's why they created that whole other class. And then, of
Yes,
course, the
that would be
Situate.
Class 4.
Right, that's the Class 4 stuff. And then Class 5 would be a Situate program that isn't, where they charge the kids to participate, and then the other one is out of Situate. Great, so thank you guys for joining.
On the basis,
Maura and Jen and Kevin, and we're going to get the minutes out to everybody and the charts out to everybody, and then we'll vote it in our upcoming meetings.
Okay.
So the
Okay.
charts will go on the website, so folks like Mr. Collins can get it off of the town of Situate website?
Yes.
Yeah, I got his email, Jen, I can send it to him.
Okay, okay, great.
Great. Thanks, Maura.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, guys. Good night.
Thank you.
Night,
Good night
thank
now.
you.
Good night.
Okay,
Night.
so the next couple of items are financial. So Nancy, you have to file a 1/12 budget for fiscal year 2021.
Michelle and I are going to do the dance of the Q&A for like the next
Okay.
couple of minutes so that everyone else can hear me. So in the event that the town cannot hold its annual town meeting by June 30th, we need to have something in place so that we can pay expenditures and pay personnel as of July 1st. So what the Department of Revenue has come up with and their regulations in conjunction with Chapter 53 of the Acts of 2020, which was the municipal, not relief, but how municipal government's going to work in this coronavirus pandemic. And it allows for what people have seen before, which is a 1/12 budget. We haven't seen it in Massachusetts, but you see it on the federal level sometimes, or at the state level and not on the local level. So what you have before you is a proposed 1/12 budget. So it can't, we have to have a minimum of 1/12 of the fiscal 20 budget for general fund and the 5 enterprise funds. Right now, all of this has to be uploaded through the state's portal for review by the Director of Accounts. It has to be done by June 30th in order for us to be able to spend funds on July 1st. But unfortunately, they haven't come up with their forms yet. So, yeah, it is. I see Maura shaking her head. It's a work in progress for everybody because a lot of them are working remotely as well. So what I put together for you is a 1/12 budget for the general fund, which would be $12,184,046, which is about 15.3%. 1/12 is 8.3%, and the reason it is so high for the general fund is we pay most of our insurance policies, our retirement assessment, a lot of things we pay July 1, and that has to be accounted for. And the DOR recognizes that municipalities, a lot of them pay substantial bills. Also, the debt service, we don't control necessarily when our debt service is due. It's due semi-annual. So depending on when those payments are due, so sewer enterprise you'll see is also a little bit higher. That's at 29.6% rather than 8.3%, and that's because we have significant debt that's due in July for that particular enterprise.
Mhm.
So what I'd ask is if the board could, that you don't have to vote at this meeting if you don't want to. We can defer to the next one. We just have to have enough time to upload all the documents into Gateway, which is the DOR portal, have them review it, and have us move forward with a 1/12. If in the interim we can hold a town meeting, this is moot, because we'll have our budgets in place. The other issue that we have is we don't know how long it's going to take the state. If you keep in mind when municipalities set their tax rates, so there's 352 municipalities. I know there's only 351 municipalities in the state, but there's 352 that actually file tax rates because of Devon's. That's how many people are going to try to file this in the next couple of weeks and have the Director of Accounts opine on it. In addition to, you have all your districts. So regional school districts, water districts, fire districts all have to go through this process. So the workflow that's going to be hitting the Department of Revenue is going to be intense. So we don't want to be in a situation where we don't have an approval prior to July 1st. So that's why you're seeing it on May 26th when I don't have a final format in which I have to submit so that I can show that to you. we've asked that you allow us to, that the approval, if the board decides to vote tonight, that the approval is contingent on any modifications requested by the Department of Revenue as approved by the town administrator. So if they decide that 15.6% is too high, we can't have that much for our general fund, or we can't have 29.6% for sewer enterprise, we would make some modifications to make that work. I do want to point out that I did send a copy of the 1/12 proposed budget for the school department to Paul Donlin, Director of Business and Finance for the school, and he was fine with it. And if we have to make any adjustments, he said we could probably make a minor adjustment with him ahead of time if that's where we had to go. And that's because they're not paying all of their teachers and paraprofessionals over the summer. They'll have a lump sum payment for most of them in June. So they have lower expenses in July than we do.
Right. Great. Thank you, Nancy. Two bits of information to give before we just open this up. One is currently annual town meeting is scheduled for June 8th. So all indication is it's not going to happen that day, and that the moderator will change it again to later on in the month. Jim mentioned in a prior meeting, and I think at probably one of the bi-weekly meetings that he does, that we're trying to see what other towns do and see how successful outdoor stadium type approaches are before we decide what we're going to do.
Yeah, I would lean, if we were going to do it, I'd lean towards being outside right now. Hull's having their town meeting the 13th outside, so I'm going to take a peek over and see how Hull's going. Cohasset right now is going to try to do a drive-in town meeting at the music circus. People would pull in their cars and stay in their cars and have their town meeting at the music circus. And then trying to figure out the mechanics of that, but I know a couple towns are going to do outside town meetings, and I think we could do it. I've already sent Mike Michello up to meet with Seth and start talking about the technical needs, what we would need to do for cameras, for video, for displays and stuff like that. But I'd like to see somebody do it before I commit to it.
What are you thinking, on the turf?
Yeah, at the football field.
Okay.
Only if we can fix the echo.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's one piece of it. The other piece of information, just to bring up, and it would typically come from the liaison report, but the Financial Forecasting Committee met a week and a half ago, I think it was? Right, so we are, we've kind of tasked Nancy and Paul to come up with different scenarios in terms of what state aid and what other expenses are going to change to. So we did, I believe there were 4 different scenarios that we asked everybody to model depending on what changes the governor's going to have to the budget. So we did a flat budget from last year, 5, 10, and 15% down. And both Nancy and Jim and Paul are going to have to come up with what changes they would have to do to meet those numbers. So we're just trying to be ahead of the curve in terms of what the state possibly could change to, a big part of our budget.
Yeah, so those downs Tony's talking about was a reduction in state aid from this year down, not this year's new number that the governor had given us, the actual FY20, then 5% less, 10% less, and 15% less.
So we had budgeted state aid up 7 or 8%, I think, and then what we said is do it even, so drop it 8%, do it down 5, do it down 10, do it down 15. And then there were a number of expenses that Nancy brought up as well, like unemployment, workman's comp, these type of expenses that will be impacted this as well, which we adjusted also, and we looked at the revenue sources as well. So we had a very comprehensive meeting at the library, and we feel that we're going to be as prepared as possible for whatever the government throws at us. So, that being said, back to this topic, we have to decide whether or not we want to vote tonight on this 1/12 budget, which is really a technicality to get something to the state so that Nancy can spend money on July 1st. I'll open it up to the remote select people first. Karen Conley, any?
No, I would be in favor of voting for it tonight. Might as well get it moving.
Okay. Ms. Canfield?
100% agree, and I know that Nancy and the Financial Forecast Committee have already vetted everything, so I think it's a necessary step.
Okay. Sean?
I agree with Ken and Karen. I'd just like to thank Nancy. Not only is it just 1/12, but that you made it so easy to understand. You said some of your bills you pay more up front. So that's the reason for your percentage being the way it is. And this is a time, right now and going forward, that the Situate will be in good hands with people, and I'm not just saying this because they can hear me, but with Nancy, Jim, financial forecasting, this is when the experience is going to really count. So thank you.
Yep.
Thank everyone, involved in this. I think it'll make the transition, it's on uncharted territory, like Jim has said many times, but it'll go as smooth as possible for things like this. So thanks to everyone.
Maura?
I agree. We should vote it tonight. Sean couldn't have said it better, so I agree.
Great. Okay, so can we open it up to Q&A?
Q&A session has started.
So if there's anyone on the line that wants to discuss the budget that we have to present to the state, a 1/12 budget, push star 61 and we'll be able to hear your question.
Nobody yet.
Okay? It doesn't look like there's anybody there. So we will do, if I can have a motion.
Q&A session is over.
Move to approve the 1/12 budget for submission to the Department of Revenue Division of Local Services, Director of Accounts, in order to continue operations effective July 1st, 2020, should the town be unable to hold a town meeting by June 30th, 2020. This approval is contingent on any modifications requested by the DOR as approved by the town administrator.
Second by
Second.
Ms. Canfield. Further discussion? Seeing none, so we'll do a roll call vote.
Mr. Vignani?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Ms. Canfield?
Yes.
Ms. Conley?
Yes.
And Ms. Curran?
Yes.
Great. Okay, the next topic of discussion is appointment of special counsel, Town Administrator Jim Boudreau.
So this is fairly straightforward. We've been talking for a while about shellfish and the oyster farming over in Situate Harbor, Bassings Beach, Cohasset Harbor, I'm sorry. And within the last month or so, the Friends of Bassing Beach has sent us some title information, some deed information about what they have purchased and their rights in that area. I've been using Bob Galvin, who's the Marshfield Town Council, as my deed research person, because Bob has done this before. He litigated the Wrexham Beach case, where he went back to 1640 on deeds, so he's familiar with this whole deed process. We had a call with him last week, Tony, Susan Harrison and I, and Bob, and he had some questions that we can't answer, and I need to put him in touch with the counsel for the Bassing Beach group. So in order to do that, we have to actually officially name Bob our special counsel to handle this. Again, he's done the research back to 1640, the Plymouth Bay Colony, the Mass Bay Colony. He's done all this work already, so we don't have to reinvent the wheel to have someone go and look into that. I did talk to Cindy Amara today, and Cindy agreed that this would be a good thing to do, to have someone who's well-versed in this already. Doesn't mean we're going to sue, doesn't mean we're getting sued. It just means I need him to ask questions of an attorney, so I need him to act in his attorney capacity. I don't have the capability to appoint an attorney. Only the Board of Selectmen can appoint counsel for the town. So that's why I'm coming here, to just ask you to formalize it, appoint him special town counsel. He's going to do a couple of things, and then he'll report back to the board what he finds.
Right, and just from the phone conversation, it's minimal work.
Yeah.
He's just going to do, get some questions together. The goal is to get that group to prove their statement, not for us to have to prove it, and then we'll figure it out, because clearly we don't want to put shellfish activity in an area that we don't own, and we also don't want someone saying that they own property that they don't, that the town owns, so.
Yeah, he started saying, well, why don't you ask this, why don't you ask that? And I said, you know what, why don't you ask that and ask that, because I'll just have to call you back and say, what was that you supposed to say? So it's just easier to cut me out of the middleman and let him handle it.
Great. So I'll open it up to the remote select personnel.
No question.
Karen Canfield?
No, I think it's entirely appropriate.
Sean?
No, I'm all set, thank you.
Laura?
I'm good.
Okay, can I have a motion?
Move that the Board of Selectmen name Attorney Robert Galvin as special counsel for the town of Situate for matters relating to shellfishing in Cohasset Harbor.
Second by Ms. Conley. Then we'll do a roll call vote. Oh, wait, hold on for 1 second. Let's open it up for Q&A real quick.
Q&A session has started.
If there's anyone on the line that has a question regarding us hiring special counsel for our shellfish project, hit star 61. Okay, there's no one responding. We have a motion and a second,
Q&A session is over.
and we'll do a roll call vote.
Mr. Vignani?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Ms. Canfield?
Yes.
Ms. Conley?
Yes.
And Ms. Curran?
Yes.
Great, thank you. The next topic is an acceptance of a donation to replant a tree at the Fred Highland Memorial in North Situate. Lorraine, do you know about this?
Yes. We received correspondence from an anonymous donor. It's in your packet.
Yep, we've got the letter from,
Yes, it was presented to the Veterans Services Advisory Council, who agreed that the tree should be replaced. And the anonymous donor has agreed to donate up to $1,000 for the purchase and planting of the new spruce tree. I ran it by Kevin Cafferty from DPW, and he's in agreement. And, you know, it's a good thing to do.
great. Questions from remote board members?
No, none.
Karen, Sean?
Nope.
Laura?
I do.
Yes.
What would the cost of the tree be? I think this is a very generous donation.
The cost of the tree, it's very expensive. I just went through it looking
Yeah.
at another topic on. And it's approximately $1,000 between the tree, the planting, and all of that.
Okay.
Depends on what type of tree it is. I mean, I haven't priced out a spruce tree
Right.
specifically.
But it was originally there to commemorate Fred Highland, right?
Yes.
So shouldn't we be taking on part of that cost? I just, that's what my question was. I think it's an awesome donation, don't get me wrong, and thank you to the individual. But it seems like he's donating it because the town hasn't done the proper thing of replacing it. So, I don't know.
Did the tree die? What happened to the tree? Did it get blown over in a storm, or?
Trees die.
So it just died, yeah. I mean, it was dedicated in 1926,
Exactly.
so. Any comments from the other board members?
My personal opinion.
Well, I think it's kind of like if somebody donates a bench down at the Cole Parkway and eventually, something bad happens to it, it falls apart. I'm not sure that the town would necessarily replace it. I think it's very nice that a donor has offered, so I don't know why we wouldn't accept it.
Yeah, I'm not saying we don't accept it, I'm just curious why we never replaced it. Anyway.
Well, it apparently means something to some people, so,
Question?
Ms. Canfield?
Is the plaque and the boulder that were there, are they still intact?
Is there a plaque and a boulder
It
there?
says yes.
Says
Does
yes.
anyone know?
It says yes.
Yes.
It says that there is a granite stand with a plaque located at the corner that the Veterans Advisory Group has agreed to polish.
Right.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't read the rest of it. Great. Yeah, I would think that Ms. Conley's point is true. It had the memorial plaque come in disarray, I would think that the Veterans Advisory and the town would want to step in, and I think that, it's extremely generous of somebody to want to replace the tree.
Sean?
I agree. It's,
Okay.
Wonderful. It's great.
Can I open it up to question and answers? Michelle?
Q&A session has started.
Is there anyone on the line that has a question about the donation of a tree for Fred Highland? Seeing none? Can I have a motion to accept the agenda? Excuse me, can I have a motion to accept the donation? Ms. Canfield? Can I have a motion?
Move that the Board of Selectmen accepted, no, I wasn't, did you want me to read the motion?
Yes, please.
Move that the Board of Selectmen accept a donation to replant a tree at the Fred Highland Memorial in North Situate.
Second.
Second by Mr. Harris. Further discussion? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote.
Mr. Vignani?
Yes?
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Ms. Canfield?
Yes.
Ms. Conley?
Yes.
And Ms. Curran?
Yes.
That's unanimous, 5-0. Thank you all. Unfortunately, we can't write a thank you letter because it's anonymous, so we don't know.
I can write a thank you letter
Okay,
from you.
Q&A session is over.
awesome. Okay, so the next topic of discussion, Kevin, you've sat here through the whole meeting to talk about the berm on Egypt Man Hill Beach.
I did sneak out and officially open the dog park, so it is open if anybody wants to use it now.
Dog park is open. Wear your masks.
So this is a project we have with FEMA-supported funds, and it's to make repairs and supplement additional stone to the Musquashkett berm. We had gone out to bid on this project back in March. We had a low bidder of George Kahns, who is a reputable contractor. It was a tight bid. The second bidder did protest the bid to the AG's office. We prevailed and Kahns prevailed, so Kahns is the low bidder contractor we're looking to award this project to. We're hoping to get started earlier, but with everything going on, it's been pushed back.
And this is money from FEMA for NEMO, and they pay 75% of it, and we pay 25%. And remind me where we're getting our 25%?
I believe it was funded 2 years ago, Nancy?
Fiscal 19 foreshore money, any capital plan.
Oh, the foreshore money that we put in every year. Okay. Any questions from the board? Remote members?
Kevin? No.
Yes, Sean?
Kevin, will the berm be much higher than it is right now, or is this for future storms? I know one of the other storms that we had called in a contractor for an emergency, and is that the berm as we see it now, is that where it stays? Or does it need to be brought up more? Kevin, I'm sorry, I don't know enough about it.
Yep, believe it or not, the berm fluctuates. It goes up and down the whole way across. It was originally built to a certain elevation, and we're going to restore that elevation. So technically, it's not going higher than it was before, but it is going to be set to a level elevation. The other thing we're doing is by adding this stone, that kind of moves back and forth. We're adding a lot of protection for that whole area in the neighborhoods. The one problem, Sean, and I was expecting this question for you. How many tons do you think would come in an average 18-wheeler for the stone?
30.
30. So did you do the math and do 21,196 tons divided by 30?
It's time, Tony, and I got more trucks.
That's a lot of trucks that will be coming down Surfside Road and everything else. So there will be a lot of truck traffic there throughout the summer.
Yeah.
Bringing that in, there'll be bulldozers there, but in the end, it's going to protect the whole area. So we have to.
Wait, did you say Surfside?
I did say Surfside.
Great.
No, but seriously, will you go down Man Hill? Will you scatter, or are you going to use one route for this all the time?
Some of both. What we'll do is we'll assign one of our guys, to the project, and they're going to manage on how they bring the material in and how they place it and where it gets spread and how it gets spread along there. Plus, we haven't had a pre-construction meeting because we haven't awarded the contract yet. So the contractor may decide, I want to bring everything on Surfside Road. I don't want to try to make it down Manlot Road with my 18-wheelers. We don't know yet. So we have to feel out the
You're
contract.
so coming to my house.
They can just idle right in front of those houses right there.
Put up those no Jake brake signs that they have in Norwell so that they don't hit them when they go by.
Either that or just bring it in by barge, solve everyone's problem.
Lemon, yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, they're all coming in by truck. He's got two sources. The contractor reached out to us. Bless you. One source is out of New Hampshire, and the other source is out of Fitchburg. So we're actually going to go and inspect the sources to see what the final material is that they make up to make sure it's acceptable. Because it's got to be a river rock. I just can't go to a quarry and say, break this rock for me. It's a specialty rock.
But that's 700 trucks.
I know. It's a lot of trucks. A lot of material.
Over what time period?
Wow.
Over, Monday through Friday over the summer. The trucks are going to be coming in and building that back up, the berm.
Should we do it in the fall?
Well, unfortunately, we were trying to get a lot of it done, before the summer. We're pushed back and we're starting now. I wouldn't want to push it off. I mean, FEMA's looking for us to start spending some money and get some stuff going here. And I think protection-wise, I think it'd be important that we get it all completed.
Well, there's not going to be storms in the summer.
No, but
Predicted to be a big hurricane season.
I know, but 700 trucks coming down Gannett, going down Surfside?
I know, it's a lot.
When's this gonna start? After the
4th of July, I
June
think.
13th?
after
The
June
election.
13th.
I mean, I hate to say it, but your other option is you delay it, now you have all those trucks coming down there when the kids waiting for the school bus. I mean, it's 6 of one,
Really
half dozen
no
of another.
ideal time. Well,
Yeah.
how much of the berm are they replacing? Is it going like down by Man Hill as well, where people sit on the beach? Like, what part of the beach is going to have to be closed off?
Well, it'll be during the day, and it's not going to be on the weekends. But a lot of it will be supplementing and just bringing it back up to grade, as well as redoing the contours of the whole.
So do they build a ramp and drive a truck right up there and empty it? Or do they dump it and have little trucks?
That's the contractor's means and methods. What they could do is they could push it all the way with a bulldozer. They could build a ramp and have a rock truck and have the rock truck bring it over. It all depends on how the contractor decides to do it and what their means and methods are to do it.
And have we used George before?
I have not used George Carnes for anything before. We met them the day of the bid, and one of my guys, Danny, did a lot of research on them and, came back and said they were a very good contractor and be able to do a lot of good work.
Any questions, Karen Canfield?
A lot of trucks, no?
Karen Conley?
Well, considering they're going to go in front of my house, I have to say that this is, it's going to have to get done. It's going to be messy whenever they do it, and I think we need to get it done. So.
On the record.
On the record. I'm not making coffee for them, though.
Okay, is there anyone on Q&A? Karen, your whole family's on Q&A.
Q&A session has started.
We just open up the lines if anyone has a question on the contract to fill the stones on Egypt and Man Hill Beach. If you have a question on that, hit star 61. Seeing none, can I have a motion?
Q&A session is over.
Move that the Board of Selectmen award the contract for the Egypt Man Hill Cobble Burn Reconstruction Project to George Carnes and Sons for $1,093,185.
Second by Ms. Conley? What? Did anyone second it?
Second.
Sean did.
Second by Mr. Harris. Further discussion? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote.
Mr. Vignani?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Ms. Canfield?
Yes.
Ms. Conley?
Yes.
Ms. Curran?
Yes.
So that is unanimous, 5-0. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you very much.
If you can postpone it,
Thanks, Jim.
the latest in the summer, the better. I think the residents would.
Understood, and, we'll take a look at it. We haven't got the means and methods, obviously, because we haven't awarded the contractor and haven't met with them.
Right.
We'll look at it, and a lot of times, Sean can attest, what these contractors want to do is get as many trucks on and get as much material in there, so it's not a prolonged thing. But, we can monitor it if there's speeding or anything else, obviously with the police and, set speed traps.
I think the board would like to
I'll be
hear,
watching.
once the plan is made, how you're gonna get all the stone there. Maybe you can come back or just send us a memo that says, here's what their plan is.
It'll definitely be by truck, because I don't see them coming back with barge.
No,
especially
what
if they're getting
road,
some from Pittsburgh.
Are they thinking 10 trucks a day, or coming down Surfside,
Yeah, it'll probably come right down 3A, 123 to 3A to Gannett Road, all the way down to Surfside.
Can we make a point? Can we?
Can I interrupt for one
Yeah.
second? I don't have any backup with me. I had it at the office. How many tons or how many cubic yards are we talking about?
21,196 tons. 15,000 cubic yards.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Chairman.
The good thing, Sean, is all that mass is going in there to protect, the sea from blowing out that area for Hadley.
Right, it's just, it's just, and DEP's the one, the stone really, to push back into the squash get and the chain ponds, and that's for the engineers to figure out. It's too bad some of that couldn't get pulled out and brought back up rather than, but that's, hey, this has been a long time.
No, and,
so,
this goes back
all
to
that stuff is
Anthony.
explored.
This goes back to Anthony. He
That's
tried
right.
to remove it from the pond, and they wanted to arrest him back then because
Yeah.
you couldn't take the material
but
out of the pond.
Right, okay. Instead, they're gonna have, hundreds of trucks going up and down the road, and, okay, all right.
I don't disagree with you, but that's,
No, and it's, yeah, and I know, it's been a long time, and I'm not disagreeing, and I'm not shooting the messenger or anything like that, it's just, yeah, and I know what you'd like to do and what Karen's neighborhood would like to see, that's for sure. But, hey, it's up to the people that have more authority than we do to make these decisions, to tell us what to do, I guess, so.
So I'm gonna let Maura go, then Karen, you can go after.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Kevin, can we make sure we map out the route in which they come into town, give them some options? Because these truck drivers from New Hampshire are going to turn on GPS. They're going to be trying to navigate through the West End, which you can't get those trucks around corners. So I think you can't. They'll take out every corner and
One
tree.
go crush you.
Yeah, and they'll crush my island. But
I'll avoid the island.
no, but seriously,
No, on a
we need
serious
to
note,
keep them
yes,
on
we will
main routes.
try to monitor the trucks the best we can. And what we'll do
Give
is,
them the routes.
when we have our pre-construction meeting, we'll bring the police involved also, so that they're there to give some
Okay,
input also.
and map out what
say
routes
that-
are appropriate.
Karen Canfield?
Yeah, I think you and Maura covered it. As soon as we have a plan and a schedule, so that I can go home at night, I'd like to have that so that we can let the neighbors know what's happening, so they're not surprised.
Great.
Yeah, we typically get a schedule from whoever the contractor is, and we'll pass it along and see if we can get it up on social media, as well as maybe a blast.
Okay, thank you, Kevin.
No
Thanks,
problem.
Next topic is the Clean
Thank you.
Water Trust borrowing. Nancy?
Wait,
So-
did we vote?
We didn't vote, did we?
Did we,
I think we moved in second, but
Yes, you
didn't vote,
voted.
Mr.
You
Chair.
voted already,
yes, we did.
and we did the roll call.
And we
Oh,
did
we
roll
did?
call. Yep.
Oh, it was so much
You're
fun.
in favor of it, Karen, remember?
I don't recall saying that out loud.
Okay, so this is an item that we're discussing, borrowing $769,393 million. And Nancy's here in Pam's stead.
So this is the financing for the construction of the green sand filter facility at well 17A. which has already been designed, and the board already awarded a contract for that construction at $5.7 million. So we may not need the full $6.7 million. This is a little bit different. It's not a bond anticipation note. This is financed through the Clean Water Trust. So we're getting an interim loan, which would be their version of a note. It's at 0% interest. When it is financed permanently, it'll be at 2% interest. The way this program works is the board, if it so chooses, authorizes the loan, and then the town, through its engineers, will send progress reports to the Clean Water Trust with proof of payment of invoices, and then we will draw down the money as we pay money out. So this isn't like a bond anticipation note where you get X number of millions up front and you work your way through it. Since this is run by the state, they'll only do it as a reimbursement, and that way your final loan will only be for the total amount you expended.
And it won't be interest-bearing until the end.
Correct, but we don't, I'm sorry, we don't control when we get incorporated in a pool. So when the state goes out to do a bond, they'll take all the projects that they think are ready to go, even if you're not all the way done, and make that a bond. So this could be permanently financed in more than one piece, depending on the state and when they go out to issue their bonds.
And just to note, we had budgeted almost 7 and it came in under 6.
Yeah, you budgeted 8 for the construction, and it was 5.7 right now.
Right, so that's great.
No. Good.
Questions from remote members? Karen Conley?
No, thanks.
Karen Canfield?
No, thank you.
Sean?
No?
Gilligan? Maura?
Why'd you say Gilligan?
Island and everything.
Oh, no.
No questions? I don't either. Can we have a motion?
Do you want Q&A?
Oh,
Vote
yeah.
to approve.
I'm sorry. We can do it after
Vote-
we do the motion.
What? Oh, vote to approve the sale of the interim loan from the Massachusetts Clean Water Act.
Second by
Second?
Ms. Canfield. Further discussion, we'll open it up to Q&A.
Q&A session has started.
Is there anyone online that has questions about the borrowing of $6.7 million for the green water filter, sand filter? Seeing none, we'll close
Q&A
Q&A
session is over.
and we'll do a roll call vote.
Mr. Vignani?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Ms. Canfield?
Yes.
Ms. Conley?
Yes.
And Ms. Curran?
Yes.
And we also need Ms. Canfield to read the vote of the clerk.
So that's unanimous, 5-0, and Ms.
Alrighty.
Canfield, can you read that document?
Yeah, just point of clarification. Oh, never mind, I said anything. All right, you ready?
Yes.
Okay. I, the clerk of the Board of Selectmen of the Town of Situate, certify that a meeting of the Board held May 26, 2020, of which meeting all members of the Board were duly notified and at which a quorum was present. The following vote was passed, all of which appears upon the official record of the Board in my custody. Voted 1, that the town shall issue bond or bonds in aggregate principal amount not to exceed $8 million. The bonds pursuant to chapters 29C and 44 of the general laws, and a vote of the town passed to April 8, 2019, Article 3, Item U, which authorized a total borrowing of $8 million for the drinking water project identified in such vote as the, quote, project, end quote. 2, that in anticipation of the issuance of the bonds, the treasurer is authorized to issue an interim loan note or notes, quote unquote, to time in aggregate amount not to exceed $8 million. 3, that each bond and note shall be issued in a single registered security and sold to the Massachusetts Clean Water Trust, quote, the trust, at a price determined pursuant to the financing agreement. 4, that the treasurer is authorized to determine the date, form, the maximum interest rate, the principal maturities of each bond and note, and to execute a financing agreement or agreement with the trust with respect to the sale of the bonds and notes, such date, form, and maturities, and the specific interest rate or rates of the bond and notes to be approved by the majority of the Board of Selectmen and the treasurer as evidenced by the execution of the bonds or notes. 5, that any certificates or documents relating to the bonds collectively known as the documents, quote unquote, may be executed in several counterparts, each of which shall be regarded as an original and all of which shall constitute one and the same document delivery of an executed card in front of the signature page to a document by electronic mail and a PDF file, or any other electronic transmission shall be as effective as delivery of the manually executed counterpart signature page to such document. And electronic signatures of any of the documents shall be deemed original signatures for the purpose of documents and all matters relating thereto, having the same legal effect as original signatures. 6. That all action taken to date by the town and its officers and agents to carry out the projects and financing, including the execution of loan commitment or agreement of the treasurer, are hereby ratified, approved, and confirmed. And 7, that the treasurer and the appropriate town officials are each hereby authorized to take any and all actions necessary or convenient to carry out the provisions of this vote, including execution, delivery of the financing agreement, and project regulatory agreements relating to the project. I further certify that the agenda of the meeting, a copy of which is attached hereto, was posted on the bulletin board of the town at least 24 hours before the meeting in compliance with section 711 of the town charter. I further certify that the vote was adopted and the meeting is open to the public. No vote was taken by secret ballot. That notice stating the time, place, time, and agenda of the meeting, which agenda including the adoption of the above vote, was filed with the town clerk, and a copy thereof posted in a manner conspicuously visible in the public at all hours and all in or on municipal buildings the office of the town clerk is located, or, if applicable, in accordance with an alternative method of notice prescribed and approved by the Attorney General as set forth in 940 CMR 29.032B, at least 48 hours, not including Saturdays, Sundays, legal holidays, prior to the time of the meeting, remain so posted at the time of the meeting that no deliberations or decisions in connection with the board with the sale of the bonds or notes was taken in executive session. The official record of the meeting was made to the public promptly and remains available to the public in accordance with General Law, Chapter 30A, Sections 18 through 25, as amended, further suspended, supplemented by, modified by executive order of the Governor of the Massachusetts, of Commonwealth of Massachusetts, extending certain provisions of Open Meeting Law, Chapter 30, Section 20, dated March 12, 2020. I further certify that the vote has not been amended, supplemented, or revoked and remains in effect of this date, dated May 26, 2020.
Great job, Karen. Have a drink of water. Okay, so we already made a motion and we all voted in favor of it, so that is done. The next topic of discussion for this evening is the authorization to apply for coronavirus relief funds. Nancy?
So this was a last minute addition to your agenda, and I apologize for that. The town administrator and I attended a Zoom conference, if you can call it attending, participated in a Zoom conference with Plymouth County about the coronavirus relief funds. And one of the items that they are requiring is proof of vote or other sufficient authorization to request and receive funding on behalf of the community. I did ask for clarification as to what that was. We have not received the clarification, so from my point of view, it is a Board of Selectmen vote. So I'm requesting that the board vote to authorize the town administrator and myself to apply for any private, local, county, state, or federal funding to support the town's response to coronavirus. So should anyone ever ask us for this again from any entity, we have a blanket authorization.
Great. Any questions from the remote select members?
Nope.
Nope.
Okay.
Let's go get that reimbursement.
Karen Canfield? Then I'll get you,
Just a
Karen.
comment. Nancy, thank you for being proactive. As the board knows, the Plymouth County Commissioners decided to go their own route and not fund things through the state as every other county has, so that we need to be as proactive as possible and make sure that we are reimbursed for the cost of responding to the epidemic. So thank you, Nancy and Jim.
Ms. Conley?
So, in other words, Nancy, we don't know how they're going to allocate the funds, what they're going to deem it useful for. If it's going to be done on a per capita basis, based on population. We don't. It's $90 million, is my understanding, right?
So yeah, they have released some information. So phase 1 is 25% of the funds based on population. So that would make our potential cap a little over $800,000, and we have not spent anywhere near that. And there's going to be 4 funding cycles. The first one ends this Friday. And then every 2 weeks through probably about the first or second week of July. So we want to get in on that very first one so that we can get the funds back into the town coffers in order to replenish the budgets that have been hit by this, and to have a better feel for where our budget stands overall.
So it's only reimbursing expenses that you can quantify as COVID-19 related?
Right, it cannot be anything that we previously budgeted for. So it has to be something in addition, outside of our normal budget. So all of the disinfectant, the wipes, all of that, the additional staffing for COVID-19 response are things that we can apply for. And we wouldn't apply for anything that we have another funding source for. So we have other grants that we have received, the provider relief funds that we talked about at the last meeting. So it's a fun spreadsheet, and then we've got 11 little pots going right now. The more pots that I can add to this spreadsheet for us to find funding sources, the happier I'll be. But I believe that was in last week's the coronavirus relief fund discussion. You had my one-page dashboard that showed all the expenses to date, which is about $170,000, and all the places that have been funded from.
Right. Sean, any questions?
Thank you.
Maura?
I have a question. Do they have the authority to refuse our submission for reimbursement?
That was one of the 13 questions I sent them on Friday, was if they find that one of our expenses is not meeting the qualifications that they've set forth, do we have an appeal process?
Right.
None of those questions have been answered yet, and I understand that they will put most of these questions back through their attorneys in order to make sure that and then publish the answers, the questions and the answers.
Right.
So I checked during our meeting to see if anything had been posted on the municipal FAQs, and nothing had been posted yet.
Are they requiring us to submit like purchase orders or anything prior to executing the purchase order to the vendors?
It's any expenditure that we can provide proof of expensing from March 1st through June 30th. So anything that we've ordered, like the electrostatic sprayers,
right?
We can't claim reimbursement for those yet because we haven't expended the funds. I have asked questions.
The schools.
Yeah, I have asked questions for specific proof. Some of the things they asked for, we've never been asked for from FEMA, MEMA, or any state or federal granting authority. And I asked if we could just provide, here's our invoice, here's our canceled check. Is that enough? Basically, I'm handling this the same way I would a FEMA claim, so I have the same level of detail. So right now, I have every invoice, every canceled check, every purchase order, copies of them all that match that lovely little spreadsheet that you see, and we have over 480 lines of reimbursement requested. So for payroll, we have to have proof of timesheet and payroll register showing that the person is paid.
And one more, Mr. Chair, sorry. And what happens to the funds if the towns in Plymouth County don't fully, like, request to the amount that they have? Do you know what I mean? Like, what happens to that balance?
They would have to return them, but there is a phase 2 and a phase 3 that they are still looking at coming up with how they're going to handle phase 2 and 3.
Okay.
So right now, we're only dealing with phase 1, which is approximately 25%.
Okay. Thank you.
Great. And the other thing that we mentioned at the Zoom call that we did, whenever it was, a month ago, we're going to be able to see what every other town puts in there, so that we make sure that we have the ability to, if somebody charges for overtime for crosswalk people, then we'll know that, and we can see if we have that as well.
That's good.
Okay, so with that explanation, can I have a motion? Actually, yeah, let's open up to Q&A.
Q&A session has started.
Is there anyone online that has a question regarding us authorizing the application for coronavirus relief funds? Hit star 61. Seeing none, I'll take a motion.
Q&A session is over.
Move to authorize the town administrator and finance director to apply for any private, local, county, state, or federal funding to support the town's response to the coronavirus.
Second by
Second.
Mr. Harris. We'll do a roll call vote.
Mr. Vignani?
Yes?
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Ms. Canfield?
Yes.
Ms. Conley?
Yes.
Ms. Curran?
Yes.
That is unanimous, 5-0. Great. Thank you, Nancy. A new business item tonight are memorial trees at Cole Parkway. I saw your
Yes.
write-up, Lorraine. You want to give us an overview?
Yes, the reason this isn't a vote is because memorial trees has already been approved in our current memorial program for the town of Situate. Yet, the pricing and locations and process was never really documented. So, I'm not very comfortable taking it upon myself to plant 5 trees in Cole Parkway without your authorization to do so. I did have Karen, we're very fortunate to have Karen Joseph, that is a certified landscape architect who works for the town, that I could speak to regarding the appropriate types of salt-tolerant trees there, because I have no idea. So she researched it, and she also researched it with a member of our planning board who is also a certified landscape architect and owns a nursery. I did speak with Chris Kennedy at Kennedy Country Gardens, who does a lot of our work, and Mike Green, who is the tree warden, that really wants the trees next door in the old police station area. But I spoke to Kevin Cafferty and said in the bid, we would, if you approve it, we will include, we don't want to put the work on DPW, they're so busy right now, so we'll include the installation and planting of the trees. We have a lot of interest. I already have 4, and I have another person who's interested in buying the 5th. So we went out and scoped the best placement from an architect, landscape architect perspective, and I attached a map with X's of the 5 locations. It is over $1,000 for a tree and a memorial plaque, and for planting and for care for the first year. And as I mentioned, I wanted to run it by you. There are a lot of trees in Cole Parkway already. We've also had a lot of people call and ask for some shade where the benches are. Tucker Patterson, Sean spoke to me about it, and other residents have spoken about, having some shade there.
Did you decide on the tree?
We did, and I attached a copy.
Yep.
I emailed you all a copy of the tree. It is a sunburst honey locust tree. It is one of the 10 top ornamental fall trees as well, so it would be a beautiful tree. And it is salt tolerant. The other type of tree that was recommended by Kennedy Country Gardens was a crabapple tree. We have a lot of crabapple trees, but it wouldn't really meet the purpose of what we're trying to do, which is provide some filtered shade.
Plus that gets messy when all
It's very messy.
they drop.
Yeah.
I'll open it up for questions to the remote select members. Karen Conley?
No, I think it sounds like a great idea. I think we do need more shade down there. So I'm all for it.
Ms. Canfield?
Right. This is great. The work that went into this is amazing. People should appreciate how much time this takes. But so the total is $4,370, and part of this is memorial donations. I'm sorry, I got a little fuzzy on how the financing works.
Sure. The entire amount, I'm still working on getting all the parts. For example, today I just received memorial plaque pricing. So that was an initial price from Chris Kennedy for this particular tree. 100% of the cost would be the burden of the memorial donor, exactly like our current memorial program runs. So I will take the 5 trees and divide it by 5, and whatever the cost would be the cost for that memorial donor for that tree.
Okay. All right, now I understand. Thank you, Lorraine.
Sure.
Laura?
No questions, just thank you
Sean?
for spearheading it.
Nope, sounds like you found a tree that'll stand up in some salt air, and that's important.
There is one of these trees
Thank you very
already.
much, Lorraine.
You're welcome. There is one of these trees already if you wanted to see what it looked like, in front of the Lucky Finn. It's a small,
They can get very big though.
honey locust. They can
good,
get
Dad.
big, but I doubt it's gonna get that big because of the conditions down there with,
So did we decide to go with Kennedy's? Are we buying it from them or through them
we maybe,
Oh.
I'm gonna put it out
to bid? Okay.
to a couple.
And then
other
also,
places.
he put fees in here to plant them.
Yes,
So we're gonna put that out also?
yes, that's part of the cost.
Okay.
I mean, DPW's just want to, if we're gonna invest this money, we wanna have professionals do the installation and care for it for the first year.
It can't just be any old landscaper.
It can't be any.
And it's warranted that way.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I have do we need a motion?
I don't need a motion, we already have the, memorial program already approved and voted on a while ago.
Well, thank you.
I will say that I will be back in June, hopefully June. I do have a proposal I'm working on to develop and revise the entire memorial program that we currently have in Situate. I'm going to be looking to have sort of a small task force put together to look at this memorial program, where we are and where we should be going. So, more to come.
Good.
Sounds good.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. So I just wanted your okay to plant the trees.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. Other business, any liaison reports? Maura?
Yeah, just quickly, I had an Affordable Housing Trust meeting the other day, and I just want to remind everyone, if you haven't been over there, that Lawson Green did break ground. So that's moving along. I know those are our affordable senior housing units that, a lot of folks are concerned about affordability, and just want to remind folks that the town supported that, and it's underway. So
That's great.
it's a good thing. Yeah, good things are happening. So that was all.
Great. Karen Conley?
Nope.
Karen Canfield?
Just quickly, the Beach Commission is meeting tomorrow night, and they're very anxious to get an update on how they might be able to assist in what will probably be some challenges with the emergency management of groups. So that's tomorrow night. And as you all know, the EDC, we all approved the EDC funding for the Situate Loves Local, and banners, yard signs, and sort of the visible components of that campaign are in. And when Jim gives the okay on some of the locations, then they'll be installed soon. So you'll start seeing them around town. And a business survey went out to all businesses in Situate to see how this coalition can assist them. So that's moving along really well.
Great.
And that's it.
Sean?
No, Tony, not at this time.
Okay. I already mentioned the financial forecast. The only other thing I want to mention is Memorial Day. And I just want to thank Don Knapp, Kim Stewart, and the whole Veteran Advisory Council who put the flags on all the cemeteries in town. And then I want to thank Maura and Karen Conley, who also got together and bought a wreath arrangement for us to put on the memorial on the Common. I want to also thank everyone that played the bells. There was a nice little outing where people stayed in their cars parked on Central Field and listened to the bells play at Lawson Tower at noon on Monday. So although we couldn't have an event the way we're used to, it was still a great event, and all our veterans were thanked for their service. So thank you all for that. And that's all that I think I have. So can I have a motion to adjourn and sign documents?
We need to accept the minutes, Mr. Chair, for the previous one.
Oh, and there's correspondence. I'm sorry. Are there any correspondence?
There is one correspondence package.
In the packet?
It's not in the packet, it came separately. It is an open meeting law complaint.
Sorry, yes, it did, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Yes. Hang on a tick. We did receive, you're talking about the open meeting?
Yes, yes, yep.
Okay. The Board of Selectmen received, I'm opening it now, excuse me, on dated May 21st, addressed to our Shellfish Advisory Committee and copied to our town clerk. There was an open meeting law complaint filed regarding the processing of applications for shellfish advisory, shellfish licenses. That's the summary, and I believe everyone got the backup on this.
Just to add to that, not so much the complaint, but the process. So people have applied, the committee has reviewed it, and now we need to interview the applicants. And we're really waiting for the ability to meet in a larger group of people to have those interviews. So, right now you can only meet with 10 people, and I think there's going to be more than 10 people interested in going to the meeting. So we're trying to figure out what the next step is. But if you guys, the people who have applied, please hold tight. We haven't forgotten you. We're just trying to find out what the best venue is to do the next step, which is the interviews.
Mr. Chair, a question?
Yes.
I'm not sure because I didn't have a chance to look it up today, but do we have an obligation to respond to those applications within a time frame?
I believe
And
it's
if so,
60.
do we need to move to extend that and inform the applicants that we've been delayed because of the emergency?
That's a good point. I don't know the time frame on that. Jim, can you see? I know there's a
Go back and
60-day
look,
window.
yeah. I'll have to go back and look.
Okay.
I did notify them,
Yeah.
so they are aware.
Yeah, great. That's a good point,
Thank
though.
you, Lorraine.
Okay, how about approval of the minutes? Can I have a motion? Maura?
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you. I was reading, I
It's not June
apologize.
13th yet.
Second.
First meeting, I had my pajamas.
What's the date of the minutes?
I think the first...
May 12th, 2020.
All right, I have a motion to accept the minutes of May 12th, 2020.
Second.
Second by Ms. Curran. All in favor? Or we'll do a roll call vote, sorry?
Mr. Vignani?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Ms. Canfield?
Yes.
Ms. Conley?
Yes.
And Ms. Curran?
Yes.
That's unanimous, 5-0. One last comment before we adjourn. The election is June 13th, so I just want to remind everybody to get absentee or, what's the other? Early voting. You have to send a letter or an email or request to the town clerk. They will mail you a ballot.
There's a form on the website.
There's a form on the website, but there is still an election. There's some contested positions, and you can show up on the 13th and vote, but we're hoping a lot of people do it early voting, and it's a two-step process. Request a ballot, then submit your ballot. And you can just drop them off at Town Hall if you don't want to mail them. So, any other comments from anybody? If not, can I have a motion to adjourn and sign documents?
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Mr. Harris. All in favor? We'll do roll call again.
Mr. Vignani?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Ms. Canfield?
Yes.
Ms. Conley?
Yes.
And Ms. Curran?
Yes.
That is unanimous. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Night.